All right, hello class. This is your professor, Dr. Chase, and we are going to be talking this week about intellectual freedom and democracy. That is what the focus of Module 4 is. Now, you all, if you watched the announcements video from a couple weeks ago, you might have seen that I have already spoken about democracy in a previous video. Specifically at that point, traditionally how the library has been viewed in terms of what role it plays in a functioning democracy or a functioning republic. If there are any lawyers in the room, we can have a discussion all day as to whether or not the United States is a democracy or a republic or both. I'm not going to have that discussion. I'm just going to say we are a representative democracy. How about that? So because we have already spoken about democracy previously, I did want to focus a little bit more on the intellectual freedom side of things in a short video, 15 minutes or less today. Before I get into that, however, I do want to do a few course updates just to let you all in on a few things. First of all, I'm sorry it took so long, but your assignment number 1 is graded. Pretty much everyone did well. If you do not have a grade, it's because I could not access your file for one reason or another, such as if you use the Pages program, or if you uploaded or attempted to upload a PDF, but there was too much data in the PDF. So if you did not get a grade, I tried to reach out to everyone that I could not grade their assignment 1, but if you do not remember me reaching out to you, then please, by all means, go ahead and reach out to me and let me know that you did not get a grade for assignment 1. Second thing I want to discuss in terms of course updates is that yes, your next assignment, assignment 2, is due on September the 20th. But that is now going to be because of the EBSCO issues and some other issues that had occurred earlier in the course. That deadline is still the deadline, but it's a soft deadline. So please shoot to have your assignment 2 available to me by September the 20th. But there's going to be a little more of a grace period this time around. If they trickle in on the 23rd, on the 24th, on the 25th, on the 26th even, I'm not going to be deducting points for a few days late. Now, I know that that puts you all in a little bit of a bind because you don't know when I'm actually going to start counting off, but just trust me, I'm going to be fair about this, and definitely there is going to be longer than just until September 20th to turn that in. If you have any questions about assignment 2 prior to turning it in, I am an email away and I can give you some guidance. Some people have asked me a few questions. Please do not hesitate to ask. Now, as far as your readings this week are concerned, there is a prompt to read the 9th edition of the Intellectual Freedom Manual. That is not something that's online, and you all have already spent quite a bit of money on your textbooks and on tuition and on those sorts of things. So whereas that has apparently been a required reading for previous previous classes, I am not going to make that required for this class. You do not have to buy the 9th edition of the Intellectual Freedom Manual. That is now an optional reading. Now, I have uploaded what is freely available online, which is the state of Maryland Intellectual Freedom Manual from their Library Association. That is, I believe, shorter than the 9th edition put out by ALA. So the Maryland document, I think, is about 32, maybe 33 pages. It's not nearly as long. So I would like for you all to read that instead. That's going to be your required reading, and you will be able to glean some of those same concepts, but I didn't want you all spending any more money. Now, intellectual freedom and censorship and those types of things, those are some of my favorite things to talk about within the LIS field. So one thing that I want to do, again, I'm going to focus my speech here for the next 5 to 10 minutes on intellectual freedom as a way to try to get you all to, I want to provoke some thought within you all. So first, I do want to say that there are a lot of organizations that at least delve into intellectual freedom issues. Of course, ALA does it. They have a whole page devoted to it. So if you wanted to go to www.ala.org/advocacy/INT freedom, then that will take you here to ALA's Intellectual Freedom Issues and Resources page. Now, so ALA does have a strong track record of being involved in intellectual freedom issues, and one thing that ALA does is every year there is a Banned Books Week. So you will see here that Banned Books Week this year is September 23rd through 29th this month, and at the end of the month. And so there are probably going to be displays, programs, and other things. But Banned Books Week is a pretty big deal for ALA, and ALA has been involved in the intellectual freedom piece for quite a long time. ALA is also into opposing censorship. We are still trying to deal with how ALA is approaching hate speech and hate crime. That's a big issue right now, and ALA, to be honest with you, just doesn't really know how to handle that issue right now. There's a lot of talk going back and forth. There is a Library Bill of Rights, and that includes your right to read, your freedom to read. And then also there is an Office of Intellectual Freedom within ALA, and then top 10 challenge books of 2017. As you can see there, they keep you a running list, and well, they keep a list. And so here's your list here. 13 Reasons Why was the most challenged book last year, and that is because of suicide. There are some other groups that have their hands in intellectual freedom and the freedom and the right to read as you wish to read. One is the Freedom to Read Foundation. And this is naturally also a big issue, a big deal with the American Civil Liberties Union. They do have a page devoted to celebrating the freedom to read. And ACLU does have a legal wing and lawyers who do litigation to fight for the civil liberties of people within the United States of America. And so they have been involved in some litigation regarding intellectual freedom, and those would include Ashcroft versus ACLU, as well as ACLU versus Johnson and ACLU versus Goddard. So these are just a few. We've also got ACLU versus the Department of Justice, and John Doe and ACLU versus Holder. These are just a few. There are a few others on this list. If you want to see some of the issues that ACLU, or some of the cases that ACLU has litigated in the spirit of intellectual freedom, then you can go to www.ftRF.org/page/history. You should see that hyperlink up there. So finally, if I can just get 2 or 3 more minutes, part of the reason why I do record these videos is because I want to kind of provoke some thought in you all beyond what is in the required reading. So one question that I want you guys to ask yourselves, and if you want to talk about this on the discussion board, please feel free to do so. There is a there was a case earlier this year in Georgia wherein To Kill a Mockingbird and Huckleberry Finn were removed from the required readings, the required curriculum in the Duluth, Georgia, I think high school. It may have been at the middle school level, but I think it was the high school level. And what this got me wondering is, should we champion freedom not to read the same way that we as librarians champion the freedom to read? So there appeared to be some objection from some students and some parents about students reading To Kill a Mockingbird and Huck Finn because of the racial language in these works and things of that nature. But even though these are fictional works, I did not agree with the decision to allow these to no longer be required readings in that particular school. I don't know if it was system-wide or a particular school. As you can see, the headline there does say Duluth Schools with an S. But to me, those are two very important works. I had to read To Kill a Mockingbird in middle school and Huck Finn in high school. And yes, those works, of course, use bad language and racist language, and they depict racism. But those things are part of our past. Is one thing if it's a work that is actually championing racism and racist ideology. But if it's a historical novel that is just kind of capturing how people spoke and how people acted at that point in history, I'm a little bothered, honestly, that we are trying to, and by we, I don't mean us, but I mean certain voices in society, appear to be trying to water that down. I believe that history needs to be no holds barred. I believe in cultural heritage. I believe that there should be museums showing the bloody images of our nation's past. And I believe those images should be in textbooks and everywhere. I believe words like niggers should be in books that are talking about race relations in America's past. That's just how I roll with it. But me being sort of an old school mentality person, yes, I do believe that these actually should have remained required reading. But does that sort of go at odds with me being a librarian? If I believe in freedom to read, should I also believe in freedom not to read? And that is what the school system has done. They have not banned To Kill a Mockingbird or Huckleberry Finn. These works are still available in their school libraries. That is written somewhere in here. If you want to find this article, you can probably just Google Duluth Schools removes To Kill a Mockingbird, Huckleberry Finn from curriculum, and this is the hyperlink up here. But yes, so just circling back around, I do find myself at odds with myself as far as, does my standing for the freedom to read also mean that I believe in a freedom not to read? If you believe that the content is offensive, I'm not quite there. I think that there are certain works that students should have to read so that they can understand our history and so that we can avoid repeating it. Now, that is just my own personal opinion. It is okay for your opinion to differ from mine, but please let me know what you think. I would love to see a little bit of that in the discussion forum. There is a discussion board post for this week. And by the way, discussion board participation is 15% of your grade. So I know you haven't had many discussion board posts in here beyond those introductory posts, but you are going to have one this week. I do want all of you to participate. And like I said, that is going to be part of your final grade, is discussion board participation. I do want to just very quickly, before I close this out, I am going over my 15 minutes, I apologize, but there was some confusion in the covering of this whole thing. So the Duluth branch of the NAACP, which was originally accredited for spearheading this movement to get To Kill a Mockingbird and The Adventures of Huck Finn to not be required readings in Duluth, they have released a statement, and you can find that here. That's the hyperlink there, or you can Google this headline here. But the NAACP in Duluth, Georgia is claiming, they are saying, quote, "We formally state that the Duluth NAACP did not request the school district to remove 2 books from its curriculum due to the book's use of racial slurs, although many representatives from the African heritage community had previously gone before the school board in favor of the book's removal." So they are trying to distance, or they were trying to distance themselves. They were trying to say, hey, we were not the ones who tried to have these books removed, because I believe there was some backlash that they were facing, including backlash from other African American people. So they kind of walked that back. But again, I'm just one of these people who thinks that these are important works of American historical fiction, and I'm not 100% there as far as telling students there's language in these books that may offend you, so you don't have to be exposed to them. But that's one person's opinion. Other opinions are valid as well, so please chime in. If you have any questions, please hit me up. I'm very accessible. Have a good week, and I will record another video next week.